YouTube! Hey, I love Kafka, and you should too. Today we're gonna learn about Kafka, all right? What's the first thing to know about Kafka? Just look at her, and then... Oh, wait, you guys can't see it, but I don't have any technique points. Where is the fastest way I can get technique points? Oh, balls. Consume what food? Oh. All right, the first thing you do when you get Kafka is you go to her back, and then you tilt down just before she like exits your field of view, and then you press E. Oh my god. Anyways, welcome to Kafka's Guide. We're gonna have some fun today, okay? First thing we're gonna do is go to the aptitude showcase. All right. Kafka causes DOT on the enemy to immediately trigger 1 extra time. Apply shock to enemies through a variety of ways. Nihility, 5-star lightning character. Great. All right. Can we talk about why this Kafka has no speed? Anyways, things to know about Kafka. Shock. Okay. Shock. Technique. AoE damage. 100% base chance to inflict shock on everyone. Kafka's entire kit, even with constellations, is 100% base chance. It does not scale by level. So if any of her abilities are level 1 or higher level, it is still 100% chance. Okay? So 100% base chance means that if bosses have 40% resistance, then the actual chance that you successfully land a debuff is times 0.6. Okay? So if you do some math, and you're like, oh, how much effect hit rate do I technically need? Well, this only applies for E1 technically, because I think shock has a different value to it. But if you wanted a perfect amount, okay, X times 0.6 to get to 100% is about 67%. Now she does get, why is this not activated? Well, if you had all of her effect hit rate nodes maxed, which you should, you would get 18% more effect hit rate. So that means you only need about 49%. I would say 40% is okay. You don't need any more than 40%. But honestly, here's the honest thing, okay? The base chance for her technique increases by 30% once you get her maxed. The effect hit rate that you need, you have 130% base chance. Enemy has 0.6, it's 0.78, all right? It's about 27, 28%. So you don't need that much EHR if you're on E0, okay? This makes it easy to build her and go lots of attack. Things to know about damage over time. Does not affect by crit. So in similar cases where you build an elemental mastery character in Genshin Impact, in Honkai Star Rail, when it comes to damage over time, you don't care about crit. All you care about is how much attack percent you have. And then the traces will tell you how much their DOT does. For Kafka, it scales off of level. Currently, while shocked enemy receives lightning DOT to 224% of Kafka's attack. Okay, so just don't build crit. You can do crit Kafka for fun, but you're not gonna improve her damage over time damage, which is where most of the stuff lies. Okay, thumbs up. She applies shock on her ultimate. Technique and talent apply. Ultimate applies, and then E is refresh. Okay, not refresh. It doesn't like refresh the turn order, but like, you know what I mean. Most of the time, you'll be applying AoE shock with your ultimate, and then your basic attack is a follow-up. It's kind of like Bronya's E4, where she just applies shock. When ultimate, she turns from all DOT instead of just shock, so basically like she tortures you. If an enemy is defeated while shock, Kafka additionally regenerates 5 energy. Doesn't need ER. True. Okay. So a quick tip while you're fighting enemies. You get an extra buff if you look at her. That's censored for the purposes of the video. Deals minor damages, talked about this. Skill is going to activate the DOT effects. Ultimate is going to deal AoE lightning damage and then apply AoE shock. Talent is going to apply on allies attacks, allies basic attacks, by the way, and inflict shock to an enemy, okay? And then technique, apply shock. First thing we do, we apply as much debuffs as possible, okay? Boom. Beautiful. All right, shampoo. Apply wind shear. Okay, we're going Giga slow mode here. Oh! Please talk to me more. It's just... Oh! Alright, let's learn about the talent, because I clearly don't know what the talent does. This effect can only be triggered 1 time per turn. I see. It is 1 time per Kafka's turn. It shows on the bottom of her character, it shows the... Oh, that is a very useful tool. Thank you. I did not notice that. You can see a little cooldown symbol. When she takes her turn, it'll probably light up again. Let's do that. Let's just do this. Boom. Okay, can we do that? It died. So you guys can see at the bottom left, you guys can see that her symbol is a beautiful color here, which means that if I do an auto attack, it will activate. Wow, insane. So you just want Kafka to go as fast as possible. True. All right. Anyways, for the most part, Kafka is pretty self-explainable. Self-explanatory. You spam your skill to do a bunch of free DOT that does not trigger the cooldown, and then use your ultimate to apply AoE, and then the talent follow-up every single turn, once per turn, with an ally's auto attack, and then you're good to go. True. That's basically talent overview. It's pretty self-explanatory. She does a lot of DOT, and you want to spam her skill as much as possible because it reprocs the DOT at a certain amount of damage that scales corresponding to the talent level. You can see that this is 69% nice of the original damage. At level 6, it's 67%. And then the DOT of her own shock increases by level 2, 175 and 197 at level 7. It's very important to level both of these. Talent follow-up is not really important to level up. However, it does still deal extra damage, which is much more than her basic attack damage. So do note that. Her talent has also 2 other things that I think are self-explanatory, but I will explain them. Her follow-up, as I explained, was like E4 Bronya. It both applies the same weakness break as a typical follow-up attack and generates energy for her. So essentially, she can get 2 sources of energy in one turn, her own skill E and also an ally proccing her follow-up attack, which means there's even less of a reason to run an energy recharge rope. Just wanted to like mention that because like ER rope is like very, very wasted. Like you don't need that at all. You get double the energy generation of a typical character. Okay, so like just slam attack percent. That's important. Okay. Well, for the purposes of leveling talents, we focus on ultimate and skill. Ultimate for the DOT, skill for the instant damage proc. And then you can leave her basic attack and leave her talent, whatever you want. Make sure to get all the effect hit rate nodes. With the effect hit rate nodes, you basically don't need effect hit rate at all for her build if you are E0, because this is 18 out of the about 26% that you need, considering that her A6 buffs it by 30%. Okay, so that basically means we only focus on 2 stats if you're E0 S1, making it very efficient. What do we normally cover afterwards? Lycone. All right. Her signature Lycone is really broken. I don't know what to say. Reason why this Lycone is so broken is because it gives her essentially free speed, which is crazy amazing for her. Kafka would like high amounts of speed because the faster you go, the more often you can proc your E, the more often you get instantaneous DOT. The faster you move, the less likely enemies can move and the DOT wears off, okay? So speed is important for Kafka specifically so that she can explode more often. Damage dealt and also extra lightning DOT. That's very nice. At S5, you get 24% speed and you get general damage dealt by 40%. Other Lycones. Welt, I would not say is that great. However, you do get free 24% damage, so it's basically just a weaker version of Kafka's. You don't get any speed. The effect hit rate is basically useless. Even if you're E1, this does not work because the skill does not have any effect hit rate. It doesn't have any debuff, so it's useless. But when you use the skill, your attack does increase by 24%, so you are getting extra damage. Incessant Rain, no. I don't know what to say besides no. For the remainder of the Lycones, most of them actually aren't that useful. There are 2. Eyes of the Prey. This is Shampoos. Effect hit rate by 20% and DOT by 24%. Mostly for the DOT 24%. We also have Good Night and Sleep Well, which is definitely the best if you have this one. This one is number 1 4-star. It's literally 36% free damage for her. Okay, this effect will apply a DOT. You just need 1 more extra debuff on your character. And then Resolution Shine's not that good for her. She's not responsible for this supportive role. You don't care about this. Fermata, break effect by 16%, increases their damage to enemies inflicted with shock or wind by 16%. This one is mediocre. It's kind of like the 2nd or 3rd best, I would say, depending on how you view it. Eyes of the Prey gives 24% to 48% DOT. Fermata gives 16% and 16% break effect. You can use this because the Lycone is sexy and it's free. And you know, that's honestly a good take. I will take that. It's a good take. Good Night and Sleep Well, definitely the best if you have it. Otherwise, don't use before the tutorial mission. This is for Pella, okay? Only for Pella. And then don't consider the 3 stars. I mean, while they aren't that bad, you have good 4-star options, so you don't really need to use the 3 stars. We don't really have perfect abilities here, so yeah. Signature Lycone is number 1. Number 2, Good Night and Sleep Well. Number 3, Fermata, because it's free and you can refine it. And then lastly, Eyes of the Prey. Okay, that's Lycones. Very simple, very straightforward. Get her Lycone because it's hot, or use Fermata because it's hot. True. Relics. I'm currently running 4 Sizzling Thunder. However, I think that 2-piece speed is actually quite nice. If you don't want 4-piece Sizzling Thunder and you're lacking in speed, 2-piece speed is perfectly doable. You get extra 6 speed for her. It can help her depending on how low your speed is. 4-piece Sizzling Thunder is obviously her best in slot. You're always going to be spamming her skill like whenever you can because it is responsible for her DOT explosion. I see in chat someone says you can run 4-piece Quantum. If you do have Silver Wolf and you want def reduction on your enemies, you can be a little shit and run 4-piece Quantum if you want. I will offer that on the table if you literally do nothing except farm that domain. But please run 4-piece Electro so I don't slap you across the face. Okay? If you don't have 4-piece Electro, you can still do 2-piece Lightning Speed. And if all else fails, you can do 4-piece Musketeer. If you're really coping, you can do 4-piece Musketeer. Planner Ornaments. You know what? I'm not gonna click on my orb because my orb sucks. I'm gonna click on my rope, okay? Because my rope is decent. Space Ceiling Station is by far the best, okay? You're gonna be above 120 speed, especially if you have 5-star boots. You have 24% attack. It's perfect for your damage over time. And you're going to want to run attackers. We'll talk about main stat in a second. Space Ceiling Station, since most of you are E0, you're not gonna need effect hit rate because you already have effect hit rate from your trace nodes and you only need 26% with an A6 trace, okay? Get a better ball than me. My ball sucks. Here's the thing, okay? Break effect is niche, but I can see it being usable. However, there's a very important thing about break effect. Attack percent is better damage because it affects all parts of her damage. Break effect is only when you actually break the shields. Now, that being said, she does break shields quite effectively. You're only going to be using Kafka against lightning weak enemies, but it's really cope. You aren't actually going to be abusing break effect nearly as much. Please just run attack percent. If you have nothing better, you can run break effect, but it's really just coping. All right, you might as well just spam attack percent because attack percent gives you so much more value on your entire kit. You're doing all damage parts because you do also have base damage. Don't forget that. Main stats. You really should only be running speed here. But if you have shit luck and you don't have speed boots, attack boots are fine. But you really should be running speed because Kafka needs to go fast. The faster that your Kafka is, the better. At least 134 speed for tuning for MOC purposes. You can go above that. We do have external buffs. If you do have our light cone, you also have that improvement. Okay, but definitely speed and also speed substats. All right, body piece, only attack percent. You do not consider anything else. If you decide to go the crit route, you know what you're doing. I'm not going to talk more about that subject, but attack percent for sure. If you are E1 plus, you still run attack percent. You just get your effect hit rate from other sources like substats. Okay. Orb. Do I need to say lightning damage? Just run. I don't want to show my orb. Lightning damage. Okay. Rope. Okay. Why do we not need energy regeneration rope? Her ultimate ability costs 120, which is not that high. Okay, it's in the sweet spot of like mid expensive, right? Her trace plus speed plus skill spam. The faster you go, the more energy you get. If the faster you go, the more energy you get, the less value ERR rope has. This is obviously different if you want to spam the ultimate, but spamming the ultimate is only really useful on characters like Asta, right? Where you really want 100% uptime. But speed and energy regeneration are kind of similar stats. The faster you go, the less value your energy recharge is because you're moving super fast. Double attack percent is extremely valuable. It allows your Kafka to reach 3.5 to 4K attack. And you want to be skill spamming for the most part anyway for the DOT explosion. The ultimate is really just there to apply AoE shock, which in general, most fights, you're going to be leading with your ultimate. So you already have that shock, and then you'll reapply it with your talent by autoing because you'll be moving really fast, right? Every single time Kafka moves, she has one proc on her talent. Use your ally, you'll proc talent, boom, you can do E again, okay? Ult also detonates, right? But if your skill detonates, what's the difference? If your skill does what your ult does, then you don't need to use your ult to detonate it, right? You can just use your skill to detonate it. Ult has a bigger detonate. How much is the multiplier increase? 90% versus 67%. I mean, it is substantial and it scales about the same. Oh, it's about the same scaling. It's about the same. That's Relics. So we have speed, attack, lightning, and attack. What else? Eidolons plus teams. Okay, E1 is actually quite significant. Branding effect. 100% base chance to increase the DOT received by the target. For 2 turns, it's for talent. Follow up. So speed is important. more follow-up attacks. 100% base chance, unaffected by her A6. If you do get E1, your effect hit rate requirements do go up. Your minimum is no longer 26%, not 130% base chance anymore, you're 100%. So your effect hit rate is going to go up to about 67% for perfect 100% chance. But for the most part, you can live with like 40%. It's not gonna end of the world, okay? E2, more DOT damage, more damage. Do we like damage? Yes, we do. 3 and 5, you know what they are. Skill, basic attack, skill important, and then 5 is ultimate and talent. Very nice. E4, more energy. Once you have E4, you don't care about energy at all. You're good. 6, damage. Damage to your heart, damage to your soul, damage to your brain cells, damage when she ties you up. Damage to wallet. I will not deny that this is true. If you do E6, it is damage to your wallet. Well, also, it's damage increase everywhere, okay? That's very true. Recommended stats. If you are E0, you only care about speed and attack. If you are E1, your effect hit rate needs to be highest 65%, but honestly, like 40 is fine, like what I have right now, okay? Minimum speed, 134. Highest speed, 800, 900, 5 million. Whatever speed you can get. Just make her super fucking fast. Attack as much as possible. 3,000, 4,000, whatever you can get, okay? Mine's at 3.5k right now. Crit, ignore. Alternative, you can build a crit Kafka build, and that will be your standard 70, 140, but you're gonna be doing overall less damage. Your burst might be a little bit higher. You have to play that to your own strengths. That's recommended stats. That's really it. That's really, you know, all we have to talk about. Teams. Kafka. I will go in order from F2P to Whale, okay? If you are F2P, we do also have 2 other DOTs. We have a new DOT by the name of Luca. We have old DOT Shampoo. You can run any of these 2 DOTs. If you do decide to run these 2 DOTs and 1 beautiful healer by the name of Natasha, what's the problem with this team? Natasha is very likely going to need to spam her elemental skill to heal your team. Shampoo needs to use his elemental skill to win shred. Luca has enhanced basic attack and does not worry about these things, which means that Luca generally is more easy to use than Shampoo is. What can we change this to reduce the skill point usage? My personal favorite, Asta. Ultimate and auto attack. You don't need to use her E. If you have E6 Asta, it's time. It's time to break her out, okay? It's time to use her. Why? There's 3 major sources of buffing that benefit Kafka a lot. First, she has a massive speed buff on her ultimate. That allows your whole team to move much faster. And we love Kafka going very, very fast, okay? What if I don't have E6? Then you can live with E0. You just won't have as good of an uptime because Asta's Eidolons give her energy recharge. They also give her a reduced stack disappearance, right? Reduced charge stacks. E6 Asta will maintain her ultimate faster and maintain her attack buff better. But yeah, Asta has attack buff, which is AoE for the whole team, for a DOT team, which is great. Also, if you guys don't know, Asta's traces add a burn to her abilities. Asta's basic attack has an 80% base chance to burn an enemy target for 3 turns. More DOT. It's just nice to have. These ones don't really matter, but this one, it is another burn. So it is another DOT. Basic attack, if you want to conserve skill points, is what you'll mostly be using with Kafka, which is great. You don't need to use her E all the time. Break is not that important. So yeah, okay. Where do we go from here? A major improvement is if you upgrade your Natasha to Luocha. Why? Well, this basically makes your skill point even better because you have passive healing. And a lot of you probably pulled for Luocha because his gameplay is insane. His healing is brutal with his talent. His talent, Abyss Flower Field, is so much extra top up and you don't need to use his skill. He also has a free skill every 2 turns, which is insane. So Luocha is probably the most immediate upgrade that will increase the survivability of this team by 10-fold, while also reducing skill point usage because you won't have to spam your E on your abundance carry to heal your team. Okay, that'll happen passively. All right, after that, well, I'm gonna be really honest. Until we get to whale teams, this is basically it. You can replace Luocha with Gepard. Okay. I see chat getting mad that I'm not including Pella. All right. The reason why I don't want to add Pella is very important. Because all you guys fucking do is spam this emote, and then my bottom left becomes green. All right, Pella, great. All right, defense reduction, AoE defense reduction, skill point positive for the most part. Especially if you want Luocha and Pella, you will almost never use Pella's E because you don't need the buff removal. You just use Luocha's ultimate. I see a lot of talk about Serval. Now, here's my personal take. Serval is just objectively worse than Luca or Shampoo. She's an erudition character. What's the problem with erudition characters? Erudition characters typically have a higher priority of crit stats, okay? Their Lycones grant more crit. Their traces have a little bit more crit. So if you do decide to do pure DOT damage, they're not going to do as much. You can't ignore that Serval's erudition. Serval's erudition affects her Lycone choices, affects her stat distribution, and affects a lot about the character. So in general, you do want to stick with Nihility characters. So Nihility characters are almost purely like, you know, they're meant for DOT. They're meant for this type of job. But Serval does have shock, and she does have good shock generation. And she is also in the trial character, which I do think is a bait because most people will probably want to run Serval because he's shock, but like long term, it's like not as good as Shampoo or Luca. Bailu have any potential? Bailu's the same as any other. Take this slot right here. This is Natasha. This is Luocha. This is Bailu. This is at least one survivability character. Does not matter who it is. I think that Asta is so good for DOT teams that you honestly should try, especially if you have E6. If you have E6 Asta and you hyper invest in your Kafka, she will hard carry. It's very nice. Okay, now we get into whale teams. Woohoo, chat. Yay, we love whale teams. All right, in whale teams, Asta stays. What changes? We have the Silver Wolf variation. This Silver Wolf variation is more solo Kafka carry. However, she is a 5-star, and she's also, well, she does have her signature Lycone, but she is very skill point heavy. So in order to make this team work, you need to have kind of a perfect team comp. Silver Wolf will be spamming E depending on your circumstance. Your support can be Bailu here to limit lightning. It's more expensive of a team comp, but you can do this to limit the elements on your team. Okay, you can also replace Asta with Ting Yun if you want. It's very, very flexible. All right, you can do a pure lightning if you want to with Silver Wolf on the team. Ting Yun also works as a buffer. She does have benediction bonus, right? She is skill point positive. Ultimate is more, so this is more of a solo Kafka carry. It does work. But these are more expensive team comps, but because in my opinion, your Kafka needs to be much stronger for these to have more value than running like a Luca Sampo, okay? Other variations. If you are really filthy, fucking disgusting rich, and you have every 5-star character in the game, and you pulled Luocha, you pulled Bald, you pulled Kafka, you can do this. You can do a double imaginary. Oh wait, why did I think Blade was imaginary? You can do Bald Luocha, not double imaginary. The reason why Luocha's in this team is because Luocha is Bald's best support. We explain this in Bald's guide. Luocha is broken with Bald. Bald will literally never die with Luocha on the field because you get free healing in like 500 different ways, okay? Ting Yun is not necessary here. You could be cringe, okay? You could use Bronya here too. Just be cringe. Just have all the 5-stars in the game and do whatever team you want. Bronya is buffing Blade, Luocha's healing the team, and now Kafka is just there to exist. Skill points. Bald is skill point neutral. Luocha is skill point positive, just don't be bad at the game. Bronya is skill point negative, counteract with Blade, okay? Kafka is skill point positive. So you're essentially, if you try really hard, you can be skill point neutral here. These are not ideal teams, obviously, but if you do have them, you can run them, okay? Now, finally, are you guys ready? If you are a filthy whale and you want Kafka to be your pride and your joy, okay? You can do all-in buff on Kafka. This is not even whale team. This team has 2 4-stars in it. But why is it considered a whale? Because your Kafka is doing 100% of the damage in this team. So if you don't have a hyper invested Kafka, you're not gonna be doing that much damage. Why the f are you recommending Yukong? What am I gonna do with crit? Kafka, what are you gonna do? Oh my God, I'm getting baited, bro. Anyways, this is gonna be the ideal Kafka carry team. Ting Yun, benediction bonus, can also wield planetary rendezvous, which is the Lycone that gives more elemental damage for the person who wields it in the same element, right? Asta can wield Baronya's Lycone. This is a perfect team comp, right? Hyper fast team, very strong. There's double attack buff. Asta has attack buff, Ting Yun has attack buff. And Luocha, if you have E6, reduces the resistance of it. Okay, I'll stop. No one in their right mind has E6 Luocha for this team. Did I miss anything, chat? I think we covered everything. I think we covered Luca. Luca generally better synergy than Shampoo because enhanced basic attack. Better synergy for the talent because Luca's more basic attack, okay? We covered the supports. Ting Yun, Asta. Asta's number 1, Ting Yun number 2. Bronya is too skill point heavy. Also, can technically work, but I would say you don't really need the crit damage bonus that Bronya gives, so you're kind of losing half of the bonus. Team rotation. What do you guys need to be explained for team rotation? Your Kafka is going to be running at Mach 7 speed. She's going to be looping as many characters as possible and exploding as many characters as possible. There's really, you can be as autopilot as you want. Okay, how about this? For your DOT characters, you do have to remember one thing, and this is very important. Usually this will be your abundance character, because your abundance character should have decent speed depending on your setup. So here's the thing with Kafka teams. Kafka's teams are usually very fast. Kafka is super fast. Your Nihility characters typically have a 4 musketeer, high speed, high attack build. So your whole team is running 130, 140, 150 speed, probably. So you're gonna be looping characters as quickly as possible. Kafka should technically be the fastest in your team. The faster that Kafka is, the better she can rotate her abilities, the more often you can weave in a normal attack from your other characters to trigger her talent follow-up, okay? Your abundance character should also be decently fast. There's just free skill points. Does Welt go well with her? No, I would not recommend pairing Welt with her. You can do it, but there's no inherent synergy. In fact, I think that Welt is too skill point hungry. If I were to use Welt, I think I would most likely be competing with whose E to use. Because you almost always want to use Welt's E for the reapply on slow, for the weakness break, right? And also, as interesting as it is, if your enemies don't move, your damage over time never naturally activates, which is not inherently a problem. It's not that bad, okay? That's not that much of a problem, but it just goes against the design of a character who's meant for damage over time. Can you imagine building damage over time and then the damage over time never activating? Doesn't that sound kind of weird? That sounds kind of weird. So that is a little strange that you don't let them enemies move when you want them to move to take DOT damage. Now you can argue that Kafka, yes, her E and ultimate do instantly proc it, but it's like an extra form of damage, right? You have Kafka do an insta proc and then your enemy have the turn take another proc. It's essentially like 1.6, 1.7x the damage. Anyways, does a full Stellaron Hunter teamwork. What is that? Blade, Kafka, Silverwolf. Okay, no, that team sounds awful because you're trying to do 2 things at the same time. But it's canon. Okay, I was gonna be cringe. Sorry. Here's the best take. If you love Kafka and you hyper invest in Kafka, you can put her on any team. As long as there is lightning weakness, she will shit on everything. As long as she is super fast, she will solo carry. It is true. The faster she is, the faster she's a one-man army. I've seen some people think that you want Kafka to be slower than your other DOT characters. Is that true? The only reason why that exists is so that you have options for your talent to proc. That is good, but it's very hard to do. So the reason why that exists, if you want to tune your team perfectly, right? You have Kafka go first, and then you have your 3 other team members. You have a choice between any of them 3 to activate their basic attack for the enhanced follow-up. This means that 2 of the 3 characters can use other abilities, like their skill if they need to, and then you can keep on rotating that over and over again. The difficulty is that I want Kafka to be super, super, super fast. It's really, really hard to get other characters to be that fast. So if you're min-maxing a perfect MOC rotation, then you can do a minimal 134 speed Kafka and have everyone else be just slightly faster. This will give you the highest DPS output in the shortest amount of cycles in MOC, if you care about that. Thoughts on crit build Kafka? If you love her that much and you can ignore her DOT, like her raw DOT damage, you can go crit Kafka. But I think that crit Kafka is a build that is for the whales that can farm a shit ton of perfect pieces. It is not for the faint-hearted, but you can do it. Oh, very important. Should F2P pull? Here's my personal take. I think that F2P players will find that Kafka is exceedingly friendly to build, friendlier than most characters to build. In her current banner, there are 2 other DOT characters that you can have. Luca is arguably one of her best teammates. Now, on top of Luca, we also have a free Natasha that will instantly become one of your healers. If you are straight new to the game, you will have Natasha 100%. You should very likely have at least 1 Luca, 100%, okay? And then if you want to complete this team with a very early game build, you can use Serval. Your first rigged summon is also the best support for her over time. It's Asta. So already Kafka has an insanely friendly team that you can already build. And Kafka does not need her signature light cone. You can use Fermata perfectly fine. She is much more flexible than most characters are. You guys remember Bald, right? Bald is very different. Bald kind of needed his light cone because it granted him such perfect stats that you can't really get on other light cones. Most destruction light cones are attack based, which are kind of cringe because he doesn't care about attack, which means that his light cone gives him both HP and crit rate, which is Yeah. There's also the talk, and I think this is very important. My personal opinion is that Kafka is not the final step for Nihility characters. If you guys notice that Kafka is very, despite her design being super like badass, get everything done herself kind of vibe, her abilities are more party oriented. She has a trace that activates all DOT sources. She also, this matters less, but DOT, if you have E2, this matters less, but E2 is DOT dealt by all allies increased by 25%. So what I'm saying is she's actually not the shining star. If they release a future Nihility character that is designed to do a massive amount of damage, but it takes a long time to ramp up, I feel like Kafka might be able to do something there, right? We have an instant DOT proc. I was thinking about this, by the way. Her highest general DPS build has 2 4-star characters. What if this Nihility character was a 5-star Nihility that had an insane amount of DPS? What if this Harmony character had an intense amount of speed and attack, more than Asta does? I don't know, man. Who knows? Anyways, I think that's where we'll leave you guys off with this video. I think it was a very long guide. I think we talked about a lot of nuances though. I just want to say that I think it's a little bit more fun to do a guide on stream. I think it's a lot more enjoyable to watch. This is why I decided to do it. I could have done a Kafka off stream guide, but I think doing it fully on stream, knowing everything about her, is a little bit more fun and probably more enjoyable for most of the people who are watching. So if you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy this type of stuff. I like to do it more often because honestly, it's less work off stream. If I can do it all in one take on stream with a little bit of cuts here and there, it's a little bit more personable and also does not need as much stuff. And also it's less robotic. I don't sound like an AI producing something. That's it. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your Kafka. And as always, see you next time. Take care.